At james.crid.land, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist. This week, do you really need a radio building at all? I still remember my first look around a radio station. I wrote to Signal Radio in Stoke-on-Trent, and they ignored me. Shame on you, Signal. But Radio Air in Leeds held an open day, and I got to have a look round the studios with John Hammond. And I remember being amazed by the equipment and was astonished at how great the jingles sounded on the decent studio monitors, and the equipment everywhere. But do you need an on-site playout system? The BBC's Vylor solution for their local radio stations keeps the fancy studios, but moves all of the playout equipment into a few regional centres. So as a presenter on a local station, you're not pressing play on a computer in the basement anymore, but one a few hundred miles away. The benefits here are pretty obvious: easier maintenance, more efficient air conditioning, cheaper studio facilities. Speaking at Next Radio, RCS's Philippe Generali unveiled a cloud-based system called Raptor.
We are announcing that we're ready to supply radio station with cloud software today. The first true cloud software that is built to work in the cloud, and you can access it and have the engine work from anywhere.
Raptor moves all of the playout software for a typical radio station into the cloud, so RCS look after the racks and the transmitter link rather than your radio station. Actually, do you need a music library? Omniplayer's playout system uses Spotify as well as your local audio, so you'll have access to any song that you need, almost. Actually, do you need expensive soundproof studios anyway? A few years ago, I wrote about Vista Radio, a company that I've been proudly working for the last 2 years in Canada, who don't have radio studios in their new facilities. Instead, their open-air studios are part of their office space, and if you're doing music programming, well, frankly, you don't need the type of heavy soundproofing that legacy studios have. If the only speech blocks are at breakfast, your office is quiet then anyway. And actually, do you need studios at all? For UK-based EDM station This Is Electric, their presenters are at home using their own home studio, typically a USB microphone into a laptop, controlling the playout software which is hosted for them by the UK company Broadcast Radio. The station's on DAB and on the internet. Come to that, do you need offices at all? Google's G Suite or Microsoft's Office 365 offers all the functionality you need for office work, alongside planning systems like WideOrbit or Aquira. Actually, for most jobs, there's little need for anything other than a web browser. The team at Air, who do radio websites, apps and many more things, don't have a head office at all, and they all work remotely from home. And there's no reason to spend all of that money on rent and office space if all of your team are remote workers. And I'm now hearing about FM radio stations in the UK who operate entirely virtually, no offices at all, presenters doing their shows from home, both live and voice-tracked, and all back-office work being done by home workers on systems based in the cloud. Many sales operations already work this way, so why not radio programming as well? In fact, this radio station also has a phone-in from a presenter's house. The discussion in the US earlier this year was all about the local studio rule, but it seems that the discussion for some forward-looking radio stations now is whether they need a building at all. You can get my weekly newsletter at james.crid.land and daily podcast news from across the world at podnews.net. And until next time, keep listening.